big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces, which are handmade in Cumbria. Their website is mrvickies.co.uk. If you want to contact the guys, email info@mrvickies.co.uk or telephone 01768 210 102. Big thanks to New Workwear. They are an agile and dedicated workwear provider launched in 2018. For more information, go to their website, newworkwear.com. Big thanks, as always, to Media Arts for the help with the video side of things. If you want to support the channel, hit the subscribe button, become a subscriber today. Hit the thumb up under the video, which likes the video, and click share to share to your other social media. Click join if you want to become a member of the channel for as little as $1.99, or take a one-off payment for the cult membership. You can get in via this QR code if you've got a smartphone, or look for membership pack on the website, nufcmatters.com. What do you get for your one-off £25 payment? You get a scarf, a pen, and a cup, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. Don't forget, if you want a car sticker, all you need to do is subscribe to the show and then email John at NUFC Matters, and he will post you a free car sticker out. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. And we also support the food bank on this channel. NUFCfansfoodbank.co.uk is the virtual matchday bucket where you can make a virtual donation 365 days of the year. The new Alan Shearer raffle is underway. 150 tickets at £1 a ticket. You could win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball from the 260 dinner. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. We've got a few events coming up. August the 5th sees Gavin Peacock at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets are £10, and you can get them now from nufcmatters.com. Our Christmas event takes place on the 7th of December at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and that's an evening with Frank Clark. Tickets are £15 and available from nufcmatters.com. Finally, Waddle, Keegan, Beardsley and Friends, the class of 84, is on at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House on Westgate Road in Newcastle on Thursday, January the 23rd. Tickets are now available from the Tyne Theatre and Opera House.co.uk or telephone 0844 2491 000. That's the box office telephone number 0844 2491 000.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NUFC Matters. Delighted to be joined by Liam Kennedy. How are you, Liam?
I'm all right. I'm just sitting here. I don't know if you would notice because you can normally see me in the waiting room there, Steve. I'm like sitting tapping away because today we are late within a working day, and I'm actually sitting subbing somebody's copy. So, I was sort of singing away, and it feels all right. Tapping away.
Fantastic. Anyway, great to see you, Liam. As always, we've got an hour to try and put the world to rights with Newcastle United. As always, we do put a request out onto Twitter first if people can't watch the show live. Didn't get massive amounts of questions. Got 4. So Stuart Taylor, he was first in. He says, hi, Liam, do you think our first signing will be low-key to hide our spending hand? Or do you feel we'll go big and make a statement to show everyone we mean business?
I don't think there's any kind of strategy when it comes to those kind of things. they'll sign who they can sign when they can sign them. I don't think there's a strategy to say, I mean, let's just play that one out. You get the chance to sign the player you've waited 2 years, you've been looking, oh, he's the one we definitely want to sign. But if you don't sign him by next week, he doesn't sign at all. So what are you going to do? Oh, no, but we've got a strategy. We've got a strategy where we're going to go low-key instead. And then we'll throw that deal might be gone by the time you decide to make it. So I think using common sense, there will be no strategy in that regards. Because, like I say, players' availability ebbs and flows in summers. There might be somebody who now is sitting here, has absolutely been told you are gone, like literally go and find yourself another club. And first week, they might not have found another club, but first week of pre-season says 2 players in that same position. One of them get a 3-month injury and another one of 6 weeks. And then all of a sudden that transfer that was nailed on to be probably gone in the first few days of the window might end up leaving on the last day or not leaving at all of the transfer window. So like I say, these things can ebb, flow. And I think the positive that I would take from Newcastle United's strategy, if there is to be one, is that they're always ready. They make their preparations. They know who they want, but they're also quite what's the word? I can't think of the word. They're quite sort of pragmatic when it comes to reacting to things. If they see somebody that think, well, he wasn't on the original list, but the manager likes him and we think he fits the values and everything, then they'll go for it and they'll make that deal. Alexander Isak probably last summer was the key example of that. They went in for him earlier in the summer with a really, probably a bid in the region of half what they ended up paying. And I'm not 100% convinced he was the man. I'm not 100% convinced he was the striker that they really had earmarked as number one target. But as the summer goes on, you see an injury to Callum Wilson, then all of a sudden they end up paying a lot more for him than they originally had wanted to pay. But it worked. And that was just about reacting to situations, seeing what's needed, backing the manager, backing their own judgment on players, because he was on the list of players that they thought was perfect for the club, just that he wasn't at the very top of it. And you know, you can't complain that they ended up paying that kind of money. But so what I would say with regard to strategy is they have broad strategies, but if they think they can improve this team in any way, shape or form, they'll go out there and do it. And I think we've seen this week, and I will underline this one, when the Saudis want something, they tend to get it. So let's just sit back and relax and enjoy the next few years, because good things are coming.
Yeah, it's a kind of message I keep trying to push out there, whether it's on the show, whether it's in a WhatsApp group, but it's the same kind of rhetoric that I come out with. So yeah, we're on the same page, mate. Mick Gilchrist on Twitter says, question for Liam, what's his thoughts on the Neymar to Chelsea rumour? Follow-up would then be, financial fair play ever be an issue, as certain clubs don't seem to care?
Well, I'd heard he was signing for Al Ittihad, then he was getting loaned to Newcastle United for the end of the window.
No, don't. That'll end up on MSN or something, mate. It'll end up it'll be a little ticker tape on Sky.
Yeah, I can see that one popping up on News Now somewhere. Newcastle United journalist reveals.
Yes.
Type story. Yeah, that was absolute. What I've just said is absolute rubbish. So no, just don't take that out of context. Any page view hounds out there, which I know they do tend to troll these shows. Neymar to Chelsea, don't really care. I'll be brutally honest with you. I'm not trying to sound harsh with the question. I literally, any other team's takeover, any other team's business this summer, I've got no care in the world about. I think I'm only interested in what Newcastle United are going to do. And I think we'll have a stronger squad by the end of this window. We'll have a stronger squad, I would imagine, by the end of the January window and the next summer, and we'll slowly get better and better and better. Now, the trajectory of Newcastle United in the last 18 months has been, I mean, I was going to say like this, but it's been more that, hasn't it, really? It's been incredible, to be honest. It wouldn't surprise us if it went from being a bit like that to a little bit more that now. Mm-hmm. Because taking that next step to then get... Did you like that one, Steve? He's looking at the comments.
I'm just laughing because I just don't know what nurse is going to get made of this by Albert, who often watches the shows.
Right.
He's probably going to have you as the tic-tac man or whatever he's called it, the betting.
Tipster.
Or he's going to have you land in planes.
Right. I think I've even lost what I was saying there. It wouldn't surprise if there's a little bit of stagnation, because taking the next step. I mean, what is the next step from getting to a cup final and finishing fourth in the league? It's becoming challengers. I do think this squad is a little way off doing that. So I think expecting them to then take another step into that bracket would be huge. And I think it would take a bigger summer than I imagine is probably going to be on the cards to do that. So look, it's probably going to be 5 in the Champions League next season, top 8 into Europe. I think if Newcastle can make sure they can finish top 6 again, like I say, if it's 5th, they're still in the Champions League. If it's 6th, Europa League, and let's go again the season after. That's the way I would sort of see things, because the squad isn't huge. It's going to be tough for them to kind of maintain the levels that they have week in, week out with having the midweek games, although they're a robust squad. Haven't had a whole lot of injuries, touch wood, this season, barring the obvious. But I think you'd probably be looking at a sum of signing 6-7 real quality players. I think I'm looking at that comment there, and I think it's probably my terminology, not very good. So not stagnation. Stagnation sounds so negative, but that's essentially what I meant. A plateau is a much more rounded way of describing it. Maybe you should get a job on here.
Definitely hired. Ian, you're hired. Okay, moving on to the final question on Twitter from Daryl. He says, any news on how they're going to get rid of Ryan Fraser from the wage bill? He says, might it be a case they might have to pay him up to move him on as a free agent? I mean, that could be you could say the same for maybe one or two others, I guess. But any news? Because usually you get outgoings first. Any news of any potential outgoings?
Ryan Fraser's a tough one, because I think there is likely to be quite a lot of reasonably interested clubs who would take a Ryan Fraser off their hands. But because of the nature in which he was signed, he's on massive wages for the player that he is. And it's difficult. There was some criminally high amounts handed out to players under the last regime, which might sound surprising, but when you look at the place within the squad now, you'd be astounded by what some of them are on, and others that play much more prominent roles are actually on compared to what is suggested in the media. I think Ryan Fraser might be a tough one to get rid of, and it might be another one of, look, Jeff Hendricks landing back on their lap again this summer, another one who was signed in the same manner, free transfer as a result of no transfer fee, was given a good contract, really good contract. You just aren't. And what level of a footballer is Jeff Hendrick? Probably where he was last season in the Championship. You ain't going to get any Championship clubs paying anybody 50 grand. Not ones who aren't already dropping out the Premier League and sucking up the parachute payments. So I just think Ryan Fraser could be a really tough one. But as a player, I think there will be quite a lot of clubs interested in taking Ryan Fraser. Look, it was only 12 months ago he was a major part of this squad. He was a starting player. Miggy Almiron and others couldn't get in the team for Ryan Fraser. He was playing really, really well. His best period, I would say. But yeah, I think that's going to be, as always, one of the biggest challenges. You've seen people in and around the club talking about the idea of trading and how Newcastle United this summer has to be a good trading platform. So we can all sit here and talk about who we're signing. We want to sign him. Most football clubs, so you look at the Chelsea model. Chelsea, everyone goes on about the 500 million that they spend. If Chelsea need to, they will easily be able to recoup 200 to 300 million this summer by selling players. Newcastle United would be lucky to recoup 20 to 30 million of selling players. That's the difference. We can't go out and spend infinitely without either massively increasing revenues, which hasn't happened yet, but will happen in time, or sell players. So that probably then brings you into a bracket and saying, how can you be cute and clever and bring a little bit more money in from players who you can maybe afford to lose, but are still saleable and still interesting other clubs. Alan St. Maximin falls into that one. I've mentioned Miguel Almiron. I think he falls into that category. And that's not saying I dislike either player or want either to leave. I'm just saying you've got to be realistic and think, what can you make any money off somebody? I don't necessarily mean make money on what they paid. It doesn't always, the financial value when it comes to accounts doesn't work like that. It's more about if they can get on the books, if they can get more money for somebody than what they're actually worth on the books, which kind of equates to the length of that contract, what was paid for them, etc. Rather than Alan St. Maximin is worth 30 million, and that's what he's worth to Newcastle United is on the books. It doesn't work like that. So if they can get rid of him for 25, 30 million, which I think would be asking a lot, but if they could do that, then that would be positive business, because you'd be getting rid of a player who, I'm just going off the top of my head, started possibly 12 games last season to 50, probably something like that. Mostly used as a substitute. Very low assists, very low goals return. Wasn't a starter in a full strength team. You could maybe commit. It's much easier to do that when you're building a team than have to take a Bruno out and start off offering, tentatively offering him around to clubs for 80 to 100 million. It doesn't. It's much easier for Maximin or somebody in those fringes to go.
Yeah, definitely is. I mean, it's going to be business done. We will wait and see what happens. Lots of people joking on that these Saudi feeder clubs are going to be buying Jeff Hendrick for 90 million, etc.
Well, what I would say on that, Steve, is I like to try and be the sort of voice of common sense to people out there, because people have a laugh, you get carried away and all that kind of thing. At this stage, my understanding is none of this is even connected, really. It's just the same owners. It was part of... There was a lot of people that I talked about this briefly on Twitter. You only get a certain amount of characters. But I mentioned that all the talk around the takeover, obviously, and everybody knows who watches this show regular, is that I was really abreast of things that were going on, not just from a takeover perspective, but sort of from the Saudi side of things, geopolitical things, etc. And one of the big things that surprised many experts and analysts in the region was that why would they go and buy a football club that isn't in Saudi Arabia and create a mini empire in another country? Obviously, there are reasons for it. Sports washing, everyone will throw that one. Image, it's all about the image. It's all about success. It's all about prestige, which you can't really achieve with the type of thing that's going on with the league in Saudi Arabia, although it's by far the strongest league in the Middle East and vociferous football population. But the idea was the Saudis wanted to build something as a grander plan. It build something really positive with real foundations in their country. And we're only just now starting to see what that actually means, that they want their teams to be the best, not necessarily paying for somebody else, a team in another country, to be the best. But there are trade-offs in buying a Premier League football club or a Serie A football club or team wherever. La Liga would be another. But yeah, I think it's important to, yes, we can have a laugh, we can have a joke. But I would be very careful about sort of thinking them as, saying there are feeders or they're linked clubs, or, I mean, that could change. But it kind of ticks a lot of the boxes with the early strategy that was suggested when people were questioning why would they put money outside when they're essentially they want to build within. And we're seeing the foundations of a country now set to build from within.
Okay, let's move on to some of the questions in the chat. Question for Liam. Could Newcastle spend 800 million and still be on the right side of financial fair play, or am I missing something, says Tom?
Yeah.
I guess he's been looking at what Chelsea spent.
Yeah, you're definitely missing something. The revenues at Newcastle United aren't very big at all when you put it into terms. So you just got to have that over a 3-year period, trading off with other expenditure and things that go on. No, Newcastle United is nowhere near being able to spend anything remotely close to that.
Okay. Will stadium expansion be close to the top of the club's agenda? And when is there likely to be significant movement on this? With the demand way outstripping supply, surely the sooner the better, says John.
Yeah, sooner the better, but these things take time. It's not something you can just click your fingers and say, right, get the builders in tomorrow and start taking things down and putting things up. I think this will be years down the line. I wouldn't anticipate it'll be anything soon.
Okay, and next question is from Rob. He says, question for both Liam and Steve. What's your thoughts on the likely ASM sale? On one hand, I'm gutted for the lad, the fact we finally made Champions League. Yeah, ASM, we spoke about this, didn't we, a little bit earlier this morning on the phone about the post that ASM put out on his social media. And it was it could have been taken in one way or the other. Me and you both took it as a bit of a farewell. And an explanation as to why he was going, and a little thank you to those who supported him, and a little, well, I've had a tough year kind of thing, and adios. Not everybody's going to like us. I understand that. So you took it in the same way. What's your thoughts on a sale, William?
There was loads of angles, so I'll talk about the statement first. There was loads of angles. There was like almost him going, hello, I'm still here. I'm a part of this. There was part of it saying, I see you all, the critics. That's essentially what he was saying at the start. There was a bit of, I think this could be the end. Then there was, but I'm a little bit determined to come back and make sure that I succeed. I love this club. I love you fans who have supported us. That caveat, because obviously he's talking about largely the critics. Explained that he's had some troubles outside of football. That's meant he struggled a bit this season. Mentioned that he's had injuries, which he can't really complain about because it's just part of football, and he has had a really unfortunate time. I managed to spend. It was during the winter break. Spoke with. It was actually he's been here years, but it was a funny situation with COVID, mix zones. Not really doing them that often, to be honest, at all, really. Anymore, because just let you into a little bit of an industry secret. People don't really read player interviews anymore, page views wise. Like they're probably one of the worst performers that you have in our industry with regards page views. A little bit of an insider thing there. So it's not really ever been top of my agenda to sort of chase player interviews. Anyway, managed during the winter break to spend a little bit of time in an interview with Alan St-Maximin. I actually never wrote anything from it. A lot of other people did. It was where the Marcus Thuram links originally came from. It was an engaging conversation, and it was the first time I'd spoken to him, and I've not spoken to him since. But I actually found him quite a fascinating character. Really quite intoxicating when you were talking to him. Very, very. There was a bit of charm, and I really enjoyed speaking to him, actually. A very, very clever player. A lot between the ears. And that's why I always fall back on the idea when I see something on social media with regards to Alan St-Maximin. Very much like he's a much more visible version of the type of thing that Rafa Benitez used to do. You'd speak to Rafa or Rafa would do things, and you would the ultimate politician. You'd never really be sure what part you were on the chessboard, but you knew you were in a game. You just weren't sure what the end result could be or who was moving around where. I think with Alan St-Maximin, he's a little bit more
social media savvy.
Yes, I think everything has a reason and a meaning, and I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and I think a lot of people buy it, and he accepts that, and that's probably the people that he wasn't criticising. It's maybe the people that he was maybe sort of throwing a bit of shade on. Look, let's go to the sale itself thing. I think I've probably said enough on the post, which, like I said to you earlier, and I'll say again, it was hard. I don't think it was necessarily a definitive goodbye, but it was hard not to read it like that, given the tone, given the broader context that we have as well. And I think he knows that as well. So whether he's sitting there saying, I've got them on strings, or that was exactly what I meant to do, get everybody talking about me at a point when nobody was, it may be something totally different. It may be in a genuine, look, I'm going to knuckle down now and get on with it. It didn't read like that, but it could have been. And it could easily have been also, look, I've had a good time here. I wish you all the best, but I'm probably going to see the end of my days here over the course of the next window. It could easily have been any one of those three. With regards to sale itself, like I said on this show before, he was available last summer. So it isn't something that I think he's not a player who Newcastle aren't open to selling, put it that way. And that's been the case for around 12 months. for a various number of reasons. I think we've all discussed those reasons. I think we can all see those reasons. My main issue isn't anything to do with the player himself. It's more a squad building exercise. I think he's got unique talents that can work in a squad, but when you're trying to build a squad to fight on a certain number of fronts, you still need reliable players who are definitely going to be fit and available for you. And his fitness record over the course of the last 3 seasons hasn't been anywhere near good enough. Like, that's not right. I can't say not good enough because it can't be his fault a lot of the time with some of the injuries that you get. But if you're trying to say, look, if I know even if I know he's not my starter, if I know Alan St. Maximin is going to be fit, and I mean Premier League, Eddie Howe Premier League fit every week, ready to go, and he's on my bench, I'd love to keep him. Love to keep him as a player.
And this is following on from like the end of the season where he's wearing a Newcastle top on a running machine. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's not the first subliminal message we've had from him. This one's more of a statement. So, and again, it's left us all scratching our heads, you know. And I think we spoke earlier about Harvey Barnes, that comparison that we'd spoken about last Tuesday on the show, which is then, you know, it's grown a few legs and people have started looking at different things. But the Harvey Barnes one's an interesting comparison. He was playing in a relegation team. He scored more goals. He got more assists than ASM. And I think ultimately I know people don't like, you know, certain ASM fans don't like hear Malcolm saying it, but that's what you get judged on as a creative winger. You know what I mean? You get judged on goals and you get judged on assists. And I think you said, how many goals did he score in his best season in a black and white shirt? Like,
I don't know. I wasn't.
Did you say 4 or 5? Did you say 4 or 5?
It wasn't a statistic I actually know. I can probably quickly look it up, but I would guess it would be a max of 5, 6 in his best season. And you get run of the mill wingers in the Premier League now are getting those as regular figures. And if you then trade it off saying, well, he only scores 3 or 4 goals a season, but he gets 10, 12 assists, so then you trade it off and say, all right, well, you know, that's what he does. But that statistic isn't really high either. He's about more than that. He is about more than that when he plays because he is such a threat that he ties people up. There's that fear factor still with defenders because they know they can get turned inside out by him. But I think Eddie Howe really hit the nail on the head. He doesn't often talk about players, very rarely talks about players' fitness in certain ways. And I think he said it's up to Alan St. Maximin is what he kind of said, paraphrasing him at the end of the season. Basically, he said it's up to him to decide whether he's got a future at this football club. And if Alan St. Maximin doesn't feel wanted because of that, doesn't feel loved, then that's his prerogative. He's probably not going to get a fan base that adores him so much anywhere.
You were right with 5, Liam. 5 was his most amount of goals in a season for Newcastle. Yeah,
and if you look at the stats on how many games he started, you're basically saying a player who is a maximum. I would like.
Classic. That penalty's going to live on. You know, it's going to live on. So everyone's saying 12 goals and 111 appearances. Yeah, 19 assists. It's not a great record.
Look, if you put Harvey Barnes, right? You put Harvey Barnes and you put Alan St. Maximin and you set a number of skill drills or you had to beat one-on-ones, defenders. Harvey Barnes couldn't lace Alan St. Maximin's boots. But if you ask somebody to score goals, get in positions to score goals and also lay goals on for other people, Alan St. Maximin can't lace Harvey Barnes' boots on the last season. Not even close. So I'm not saying Harvey Barnes the answer. It was just an example we were talking about this morning. But, you know, as a creative player in the Premier League, he needs a bigger output. And I think that's largely down to his fitness issues, that we haven't seen that kind of output, because every time he seems to get ahead of steam in a little run of games, when he's doing well, he gets an injury and he's out for 4 weeks and then he's not back in the team. So I think he's been a bit unlucky in that respect, but I think he could help himself more, which is what I think Eddie Howe was hinting at the end of last season. You're on mute, mate.
Yeah, sorry. With ASM, I wonder if he trains properly, warms up, looks half-hearted. Does this potentially cause injuries? Yeah, it might do, Les. You know, we don't know. We never get to the mystery of these bizarre, like bandages and all that. It's all a strange stuff. Anyway, let's move on from ASM. We'll spend hours talking about him over the course of the summer and just know it until his situation is resolved. Afternoon, Stephen, Liam, and all. Good to see we are looking at youth with Minty, the lad from Port Vale, etc. Liam, do you think there's almost a separate budget for the younger signings, says Steve?
So I've not had any clarity on that, but it's funny, Steve, I had exactly the same thought last night when I was sort of thinking about it. I wonder if there is a part of this budget set aside to beef up that layer. It's a beefing up of the layer, really, between the two teams, between the development squad and the full squad. I'd be surprised if you pay £6 million for a lad to play development league football. It's not really going to happen. So you're kind of almost beefing up players to come in and go straight out on loan, as we've seen with Kual, and we'll likely see with a few others that they sign this summer. But yeah, it's an interesting point. It's not one I actually know the answer to, but you would think that probably is the case.
Yeah, those stats there, by the way, were quite interesting, which somebody just posted. Let me get them back. Dan, thank you. Harvey Barnes, 35 goals, 25 assists in 146. That's almost double what ASM's got in fair enough, 30 less games. But it just shows it's still more goals. It's 35 goals as opposed to 12.
St. Maximin in the same period won't have 25 assists.
No, it's crazy.
St. Maximin's maximum assists in a season is again 5, 6, 7. It isn't producing a huge amount of goals for other players, nor is he scoring a lot of goals. So it's one of them that you've really got to weigh up. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, any idea when the documentary's due out, Liam? Has there been any kind of official stuff on that? I don't think that has there?
I was said August before the season, so that only gives them. I mean, the start of the season is 12th. So I think it'll be the first week of August, I would imagine.
There's only 4 episodes, I think, as well. So it's a huge series, and they'll probably all come out simultaneously. The first one will come out, and then you'll be able to watch them all together, a bit like you could with the Sunderland documentary. Liam, says Tom, would you have Tim Krul back at the club? Lots of talk about players potentially coming back, depending on what we need for the Champions League and depending on who goes out. Goalkeeper is a big thing, of course. Fraser Foster, another one being mentioned, Liam.
Yeah, it's one of those. It depends, really. I mean, if you need to take that quota, then Tim Krul takes that quota. I think he'd be a popular signing to come back to the club. I doubt he would really play any games, but I think it would be a win. You'd imagine he'd be reasonably happy to come back, having spent his formative years as a sort of young man and upwards, young family, etc., and things like that. Would be happy to come back. But when you think about it, I mean, there's a lot made of this. I don't know how it's actually officially termed, but the 4 players I think that's got to be in the squad that tick the box that were coached at the club between the ages of, I don't know, it's something like early teens to late teens or early 20s. It's something like that. Again, apologies for not doing the exact homework expecting that question. But there are, I mean, they've made it clear that they're probably going to keep Paul Dummett. He ticks 1. If Gillespie stays as one of the 4 keepers, there's no reason why he couldn't name Gillespie as one of in the Champions League squad, but not a Premier League squad. We've seen him in and out of squads this season. Could easily be done there as well. Then beyond that, you've got Sean Longstaff, who ticks the box, who was a massive part of the team, never mind the squad. And then you've got Lewis Miley, who's kicking in and around the team anyway. That's 4. So I'm not really sure that they're probably going to need many to tick that box, but let's wait and see.
Yeah, lots of people yesterday suggesting Matty Longstaff might have his contract extended. I mean, it wouldn't surprise us to see the club do it to help him with his recovery, as Tom's suggesting there, because that's what they said. They were going to look after him and get him back to full fitness, and then decide what the course of action was. But I think that would be it, won't it? I think they may well do that. And of course, as a statistic at the club, he would be one of those players who, may help depending on personnel going in and out.
I think Eddie Howe's made his mind up on Matty Longstaff. I think the injuries just probably extended his stay at the club a little bit longer than had been initially anticipated, potentially. But I think, as with Isaac Hayden, as with Jeff Hendrick and others who will be coming back to the club, they'll not be coming back to be part of the first team squad. That'll be my suggestion on Matty Longstaff as well.
Okay.
They are. Sorry, somebody just mentioned Elliot Anderson. How could I forget? So that's what I mean. It's a moot point, really, because we might not even need anybody to tick those boxes. And that might even be with sending a Miley on loan or even potentially getting rid of a Gillespie. You might still have enough players in that squad anyway.
There was another question on Twitter from John Mockler. He said, why have the club taken so long to sort the season ticket renewals out? I called the club and they said it was soon. Seems to be a bit of moving and shaking, isn't it? I mean, I think there's been a new bar announced. The corporate end is now being announced. I think, is it the Rooftops? I think I've seen something on a WhatsApp group today about that, which I'm not sure if that's an official announcement or whether it's something which has been picked up by somebody. I'm not sure. But anyway, there is a little bit of movement. We've got the standing area going in. So I guess maybe it's just one of those things that, you know, it's taking a little bit more time because of movement of supporters around the ground.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. Unfortunately, I wish I could give any details on it, but it's not really something that I have a massive amount of information on with regards to seating. But I'm pretty sure it's something I could put a question in if needs be.
Yeah, it'd be good if you could find maybe something out about that. That would be good. You know what I mean? In fact, if anybody's got questions about certain things, I must push you towards supporter services at nufc.co.uk, because Liam's got a busy enough job as it is without having to go to the club with every single question. There is people at the club. There are people at the club who actually answer you these days.
You've just helped us there, because I'm kind of opening the door there to anybody just asking us anything, didn't I? And I'll end up inundated.
To be honest, somebody. Well, I get lots of inboxes on different forms of social media. Some of them are polite, but some of them are
not.
But yeah, the questions that I guess asked, I always say to people, contact supporter services at nufc.co.uk, and I have found, not to me surprised, because this is something easy. It's an easy fix. Those people at the club are doing a good job. They are getting back in touch. Somebody had mislaid the paperwork for their stone that they bought at St James's, where we could all buy a stone outside the ground and put your name in or a family name on, and they couldn't remember where theirs was. And there's hundreds of them, of course. So I just pushed them in that direction, and they got an answer within an hour. So there you go. Well done, Newcastle United. They've sorted that out, and that is great news. To hear that, you know, those kind of things can be sorted, whereas that would have just lain in an inbox for years and no one would have ever got back to the guy. So he was delighted. Scott, continuing on the ticket theme, says, hi guys, do you think tickets for away games this season will be changed to a slightly different format, a chance for members and season ticket holders to build up points, maybe a percentage kept back? I've seen something. I don't know whether Liam will have. Liam was off last week, but I've seen something with regards to obviously the new ideas that they are bringing in for tickets at home. So we know we're going to a digital service. We know that that's going to come in this season. But there was a little thing that came back from the advisory panel's meeting on the Tuesday that they are going to address away tickets in due course. So that's your answer, Scott. It will be something that they look at. Whether that will be a change to how you can apply for them or what, I don't know. But the club are aware, of course, of, you know, people aren't as happy as they could be about away tickets. So it's a case of wait and see. Vince asks a serious question. He says, when is Messi coming,
Liam? Whenever he's allowed to be loaned here by whoever he signs for in Saudi Arabia. No, I think he's
no, that's a lie. It's a lie. That's going to be out there. A journalist says.
Yeah, I think he's going to America, isn't he? If he can't go to Barcelona, he's going to America. Is that not the suggestion?
I was hoping he was going to go to another club in the Champions League, because I'd love to see him at St James's, and we end up with him at St James's just playing against him. Just be great to see. You'd seen him, you know. We've seen Ronaldo a few times, but
I was hoping he might turn up at one of the Saudi clubs, and we might see a little friendly in the summer.
Yeah, possibly. It's a good shout. We'll wait and see. Watch this space. Does Liam think the attacks on us will lessen with PIF joining forces with the PGA Golf? Not on your Nelly, Paul. There's always going to be somebody having a pop.
I don't know. Like, it's probably going to be quite good as they take over world sport. But it should lessen, shouldn't it? But I think when it comes to a Premier League perspective, and the only focus really has been the negativity has been pretty much in this country. I don't think we're ever going to really lose that. Although golf is quite a reasonably sized participation sport in this country, and is from these isles. It doesn't still in this country still doesn't warrant the same column inches as football and anywhere close to. So I don't think that's going anywhere soon.
More positivity. Dan says, mind the club have been incredible sorting my season tickets out for this year. They've had to be name changed for bereavement. They took a few days to reply, but the response was perfect. Dan, good news. And this is it. Look, the club are doing a hell of a job, you know, and there will be times when they make mistakes. There will be times when they upset people. But overall, the club and the new owners are doing a great job. And there's a lot of people still there from the old Ashley era as well who have to adapt to the new ways. And you know, Rome wasn't built overnight. That's a phrase which is well used. So give the club
a day, I think, Steve.
Well, yeah, it wasn't built. It certainly wasn't built in a day, and it wasn't built overnight either. So I've just coined a new phrase.
I like it. I think we should use that.
It's a Wraithism. It's a Wraithism. People hear
Athens wasn't built overnight or something. You should just slightly change it, maybe.
Cheers. Copyright Liam Kennedy, though, that one. Japan wasn't built overnight. No, it doesn't sound right. Tom Dixon says, Liam, are you going to watch Sam Fender this weekend or Pink?
I'm not going either. I'm devastated, to be honest.
Devastated you missed out on tickets for Pink.
I was really looking forward to going to the Stadium of Light this weekend, and I just haven't been able to get tickets. But no, I've had opportunities to get tickets for Friday. Incredible day, and I'm a bit skint at the moment. It's that time of the month when we're heading towards payday. I can't quite afford it, but we've had a couple of offers from PRs. There's a couple of my team going. I've tried to get an extra ticket like in the last week.
It's not working.
It's not happening. Saturday still isn't a rule out. That's what I'll say.
All right.
But I don't think it's promising.
Yeah, just fly a plane over.
Yeah, I could.
Get one of those planes.
Can't get in when we press pass. I think I'll get knocked away at the door.
Question for Liam. Any news on the probable timing of transfers of the lads leaving Leicester, Chelsea, etc.? Is it 30th of June 2023 for financial fair play purposes? Normally the first big moves have a domino effect. Well, that's certainly right, Benny. Yeah.
The second bit I agree with. The first bit I don't really have any inside knowledge on at all. So
yeah. Okay.
Deals will happen when they happen. Certain clubs will have certain things lined up. Some won't. I suggest Newcastle United are fighting in a market, and Eddie Howe's hinted at that it's a limited amount of players that they're actually going for who they think will massively improve the team, which is what they want to do this summer. So no, I don't think. I think we'll just wait and see. It could. I'd have to suspect it'll probably be later business with some of it, and that's just the way these things are.
Question for Liam. Why haven't Newcastle gone for any of their top targets? Do you know who they are, right? Because if Liverpool can sign McAllister early with permission from Brighton, are we just not good at transfers? Tell us who the top targets are, Race, is the question I'm going to ask you, because none of us know. We speculate, but none of us know who the top targets are. Newcastle will do their business very, very sensibly, as they have done in the previous few windows, and I think that's the answer. And I don't think I'm going to get a different answer off you on that, Liam.
No, I'm not really. I'm not even really going to comment on it. I think judge them at the end of the window. It doesn't really matter when you sign the players, as long as you sign them. Yeah.
And Mark Hall says, did you see the new strip? Well, it was an alleged new strip leak, which a couple of the YouTube channels have gone public with. I know Adam Pearson did a video on it, and I've seen the retrospective photographs, etc., with the potential sponsor on. We've talked about it on this show, but you know, if the rumours are right, we've only got 2 days to wait until it's a big reveal. But if that's the strip, do you like it, Liam? If that is the strip,
yeah, I love it. It's got proper 80s theme about it. Do you not think?
I do, yeah. I mean, they've got the stripes right. The first thing I look at on a new strip is the stripes, and you get that right, then the rest is easy. I do quite like the sponsor. If that is the sponsor as well, it looks really good.
Black and white. The black and white makes a huge difference.
Obviously, we don't see the back of it, I'm never a fan of red numbers on our strip. And I know there has been red numbers in the last so many. It comes up. I'm just not a fan of it. I just prefer to have a different type of number, a good old-fashioned white number or black number or whatever looks best on that particular shirt, and depending on the design on the back, that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I'm told it is the kit. So there you go. I'm told it is the kit, and it was the images that they've got, the official launch images, had to be photoshopped because the sponsor hadn't been done. So it's quite a. I don't think it looks great for Castore. It's a proper shabby Photoshop job. I'm not a massive. I'm not expert. I couldn't do it, but I think you can employ people to do it slightly better than what it looks on there. It's the colors wrong. It's too black, almost too white. It just doesn't look right. But it was circumstance. They've been trying to get through this deal, as I mentioned a few weeks ago. It wasn't quite done. They were getting things through. It is done now, and we're just waiting on the big announcement. Like I mentioned a few weeks back, June the 9th was always the working day, but I was told there was 2 working dates. But I was told the information on the 9th was what my sources were very, very close to the mark. So let's just keep our fingers crossed for Friday. I think it'll make for quite a big day, getting all those sort of bits and bobs announced, the Blaine races, the Sam Fender. I think it'd be great. So hopefully it does come through on Friday.
Barry Cope says...
White socks.
With white socks, yeah. All right, lads, Big Dom, Matters, Tierney over staggered payments of £150 million budget. What do you think?
Who's Big Dom?
Slobber.
Oh, him, right. I'd love him. I think he looks the business. So if they get him and strengthen reasonably in other areas, I think they'll be massively improved. So, yeah, I'm all for that.
Okay. Hi, David. He says, hi, Steve. Hi, Liam. What would you say is the minimum transfer business we would need to do to get us to January? The minimum? I think we could get away with 3 players, but it's a risk. Like, it really is a risk. I think they need 4 minimum, really, but I think they could probably get away with 3. But then you just need look on injuries, and it depends which 3 they sign. That's my answer. But it's got to be the right players, it's got to be the right characters, and it's got to be for the right price, David. It's as simple as that. The ethos won't change in this transfer window or the next. If it changes in the next, it'll be for a reason. But yeah, I think maybe 3, depending on who goes out, of course.
That would be the bare minimum for me. And the bare minimum would be a left back, using the idea that Dan Burn can then cover centre half, a midfielder, and a forward player who can play in any of those positions. That would be the 3 priorities. Then beyond that, like this, somebody's been on a translator online.
He's done well, Tom. Like somebody did it the other day. Now he spelled it differently. Zabozli. I keep forgetting it. And that's why I end up sounding like a flower. Zabozli. Yeah. It's why I keep getting it. And that's why Vince says I sound like a flower pot man. You're right, mate. Zabozli. Dominic's better.
Yeah, I like it. Big Dom. We'll do
Big
that.
Dom. Zabozli. We've got 19 million for Wood, says Benny. And 4 million loan fee plus £15 million transfer, £6 million net cost to bail us out.
I don't think they did, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's a bit high.
Okay. Zabozli is my number 1, says Les. 5 for me, minimum, to coin a phrase. Left back, defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, forward, and we need the club-trained sub-keeper sorted. Okay. Ian, I'm not even going to read that out, mate. How are son? Chris Wood fans only on this channel. Scott says, who's the one player that you would like Newcastle to sign this summer in the transfer window? If you could only pick one, who would it be realistically, of course?
Zabozli?
Well done, Zabozli. Yes, Zabozli. Liam, do you think we'll sign Diaby, says Tom? Been linked long enough.
I think a return to PSG was seeming more on the cards, but it's a player that's on the list. And as we know, with previous deals, Botman, Isak, Newcastle aren't scared to go back into the list and go back for players that have shown previous interest. He's a player they've massively shown interest in. So is James Maddison. information on that was that James Maddison wanted Tottenham, but Tottenham dropped off a cliff at the back end of last season. That and obviously fell out of Europe, but that situation might have changed with regards to Maddison. He might now look at it and say, new manager, if the new manager wants him, be quite a good statement for them to go and get somebody like James Maddison. He wants to go to London as a primary option this summer. So yeah, that's kind of I've just thrown a few little bits that I know they're out, but that's kind of where we're at. A lot of moving parts. There's so many moving parts in this thing, and we're talking about people who change their minds, who situations change. James Maddison could wake up tomorrow and say, "Actually, never mind London. I cannot wait to be on the bridges of the Tyne." He might suddenly just decide that's what he fancies. I don't know. You just don't know with anything. Anybody can change their mind and things like that. But yeah, I think with so many moving parts, it's very difficult until a deal gets to a certain point to say whether it's going to happen. I don't necessarily think, I haven't. If there is, I haven't got the information on it. But I don't think, from what I've heard, Newcastle are at that point.
Yeah. Vince says you're sacked, Ian. You're fired, in the words of Alan Sugar. The Bassman Reigns, nice to see a new face in the chat. Just a thought about ASM comparisons with Barnes and ASM is apples and oranges. Yes, ASM hasn't had a great season with injuries and personal issues, which he mentioned, but ask Kyle Walker who we would rather play against. Well, again, it is a good point. You turn them inside out.
Yeah. But to be honest, if you put the two of them up, Kyle Walker plays every week. Harvey Barnes plays every week. Lawrence at maximum doesn't, and it's a big problem. It's about reliability and building a squad and building a team, and he's not really been much of a part of either this season. Yeah,
Benny got that from a Forest fans site. Do you know what the number? It's homework for next week. Try and find out, I guess, Liam. If we don't know exactly.
No, so when it was originally announced, I was told it wasn't quite as high as what people were suggesting. So that's what I'm putting that off. Mm-hmm. I was led to, again, this, I don't know this definitively, but I was led to believe it was a 15 all in, not a 15 plus.
Okay.
So I think that's probably closer to where
very rare as well that we'll actually get the stats from transfers. It's weird. Once upon a time it used to be, it's X amount and that's it. But it's trying to get blood out of a stone, because
look, at the end of the day, how they've getting 15 million for Chris Wood. I'm not going to criticize him. I'm not going to go there, but incredible.
I think we'd go back in for Ekatike.
No.
Simple answer.
I just don't. I mean, like I say, the thing that it does tick is they go back down the list. They will revisit players. He ticks those boxes. You don't hear great things about the player and about his attitude and about stuff around the game, not necessarily just his game. I'd be surprised, is all I would say.
Before I come to John's question, I did tell you earlier on as well. We've got Barry Hogan. He's had to take time off work. He's locked in a room now, doing spreadsheets for NUFC matters until September the 1st. Totting up how many players we've been linked with. And on Monday it was 116. By the time I had a message off him on Tuesday, there was another 16. It was 132 on Tuesday. Imagine what numbers we're going to have by the 1st of September, Liam.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that we might struggle with regards to FFP if we're going down that route. Carrying the wages of an extra 100 players not able to be named in the Premier League or Champions League squad would be a tough one to sell to sort of money makers in PIF. But yeah, I think it's transfer silly season. Anything goes at this time of year. And like I always say, just be careful who you trust and who you really listen to, because I see a lot of fans get so carried away about certain things. I mean, it was literally breaking as I came on the show last week about that Vega from Celta Vigo. My answer on that was I'd heard him mentioned a while back, but couldn't really give any information. I mean, by Thursday, I see Newcastle United fans, this will be my team next year, and he's in the team. People get so taken away by the idea when it gets linked.
It's probably Suzanne Vega doing a gig at a student union somewhere in Newcastle, and somebody said, "Oh, Vega's covered to the tune." That's what happens, isn't it? That was that infamous Chronicle story where it was Socrates was coming, and it was a student band playing at the university. Absolute classic. And they went with a story, back page, Socrates for Newcastle or something. Dear God.
How are you doing dirty on John Gibson here? Not Gil.
I never mentioned him. Oh, great. No, John's not going to be happy. Nah, he does laugh about that. We have spoken about it on the show. John says, how important is it to do transfer business, early to bed signings in for the start of the season? I'd say very important. I think Eddie would want as many in as he can before he gets on the plane to America.
2 parts to this. In an ideal world, how important is it? It's essential. The earlier you get players in, the earlier they can train with the team, get used to their surroundings, like starting a new job. Anybody starts a new job tomorrow, some people might be totally different. I know when I start a new job, you probably don't really see the proper version of me for a little while into the job because you've got to settle in, you've got so much going on. Then the true character and true ability of somebody comes out. I think that's the same with footballers. So you essentially want to get somebody used to your way of working, your processes, get them in early. But we don't live in an ideal world. So the second part of this is that doesn't mean anybody should be panicking if we don't make any early signings, because that's not really the way the game works. They're going to make signings this summer and they're going to try and get the players that they want. And whether that happens on the last day of the window or the first is largely irrelevant, because even with the last day of the window, there's still probably about 95% of the season still to play. Everything's still to be won and lost. Champions League doesn't start till September. Nothing to panic about.
Yeah, okay. What would you think if Kante if a centre defensive midfielder? Ian would like him.
I think he's gone over the hill. I think he's injuries. I think he's proven last season. I think he's just, and that's harsh. It is. He's still an excellent footballer, but the wages that he would command are ludicrous. And he just doesn't fit in any way, shape, or form. Not for me.
Any news on Baka, Liam, says Tim Cairns?
No, I haven't got any news. I don't know where this is coming from. So please, Tim, come in the comments if you've got time and all about shutdown. But I don't know where this Baka stuff's coming from. I don't know. It could have been somewhere in the continent. I'm not sure, but I've not seen it.
Yeah, I like Suzanne Vega. I do, Benny. So I'm not having a go at her. I'm just saying she wouldn't be much good in a black and white shirt for Newcastle, I don't think. I feel like we could do with a few more lefties in the squad. Keep politics out of it, Johnny. Left wingers, you mean, right? Okay, I see where you're coming from. Just a little announcement. We're hopefully going to have a date for a bit of a get together. Me, Liam, and the lads from the Gazette are going to be doing a talking. We're going to get where. Sync our diaries. Hopefully a few of you guys who are in the chat will be up for it to join us for a pre-season chat in aid of the food bank. Watch this space. We're going to synchronise our diaries and come back to you. But if everybody'd like to come, it's going to be quite a cheap affair, and none of us are going to take any money from it. We're just going to give all the money to the food bank at the start of the season, and we'll donate it into the bucket on a match day, so the Rubens double it, hopefully, which would be good. So keep an eye out for that date. We'll hopefully announce that next Tuesday. Liam, just give a quick plug, mate, to everything that you do and where people can find you.
Well, yeah, I'm not on here much these days, or not as much as I used to be. So people might not know there's been a lot of change with me. A lot of change. I'm now actually, when I first came on this show, I was merely a football writer for the Shields Gazette. Weirdly, don't know why they picked me, but I'm actually editing the whole thing now. The online operation, obviously the newspaper itself, which goes back the oldest publications in the UK. But I'm still doing Newcastle World as well, so keep showing your support in Newcastle World. You'll not get much better Newcastle United content than what you get on Newcastle World. Incredible, especially considering it's just one man who does it most, Jordan Cronin. What a workhorse, good quality as well, and good lad. And that's another thing. I was speaking to him this week, Steve. We were talking about potentially getting him on a couple of shows. I think that would be quite good for him, and to give a chance to the NUFC Matters community to sort of meet Jordan and sort of see what the kind of thing that he does.
Yeah,
I think he's quite similar to me, so I think you'll probably all get on with him.
Yeah, he's a great lad. I think we had him on briefly once when you two guys were abroad, and he's a lovely guy. Watched his work unloaded as well, which has been great. So it'd be great to get Jordan on the show. But looking forward to getting out and doing a live Q&A with you, which will be a nice season opener I guess, for everybody. We'll keep an eye on the fixtures, of course, which are out very soon, and the rest of the pre-season will take shape as well. I'm sure there'll be a home announcement in due course. Newcastle always like to have a home game. Is Jordan as good at penalties as you, Liam?
He scored his as well. Yeah.
There we go. Fantastic.
He nearly scored in the game, actually. He nearly scored in the game as well. He's decent, Jordan, like.
Close but no cigar. All right, Liam, great to catch up with you, mate, as always. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. Have a good week. Take care, pal.
Cheers.
We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email John at nufcmatters.com to arrange today.